The coffee shop hummed with morning conversations, but David sat alone at his usual corner table. Steam rose from his untouched cup as he stared at his phone screen. 27 missed calls, 43 unread messages. All from people who needed something: his business partner, his brother, his ex-girlfriend, his best friend from college. They all trusted David to fix their problems, and David had never learned to say no. He didn't know it yet, but today would change the trajectory of his entire life. The morning light filtered through the coffee shop windows, casting long shadows across his table. Other customers chatted about weekend plans, work deadlines, ordinary problems. David envied their simplicity. His phone buzzed constantly with other people's crises. The first call came at 7:42 a.m. Michael, his business partner of 3 years. "Dave, thank God you picked up. I need you to cover the Henderson account presentation today." Something urgent came up. David's stomach tightened. The Henderson presentation was Michael's responsibility. The client specifically requested Michael's expertise, but David found himself saying the words he always said. "Of course, send me the files. You're a lifesaver, man." "I owe you one." Michael had said that exact phrase 47 times in the past year. David had counted them all. By 9 a.m., David was sitting in a conference room across from 3 executives, presenting work he'd prepared in 90 minutes. The Henderson account was worth $200,000. His $200,000 since he'd handled every aspect of the client relationship. The executives were impressed. They signed immediately. Michael would get the commission. At lunch, David's phone buzzed again. Rachel, his ex-girlfriend. They'd broken up 6 months ago, but she still called when she needed help. "David, I know this is weird, but I'm in a terrible situation. My car broke down and I need $3,000 for repairs. Could you? I'll transfer it this afternoon. You're amazing. I promise I'll pay you back." Rachel had borrowed $17,000 over the past 2 years. She'd paid back $400. But David kept saying yes, because trust, he believed, was what good people did. Then something shifted. Thursday evening brought the call that changed everything. Daniel, his closest friend since university, sounded nervous. "Dave, I need to tell you something. Remember the investment opportunity I told you about? The one you put $50,000 into?" David's blood went cold. "What about it?" It wasn't real. I mean, the company exists, but I used your money for something else." The words hit like physical blows. "What?" "I had gambling debts, serious ones. I was going to pay you back once I got ahead, but—" David set his phone down on the kitchen counter and stared at it. $50,000. Gone. Stolen by someone he'd trusted completely. "Dave, are you there?" David picked up the phone. "Where's my money, Daniel?" "I lost it, all of it, but I have a plan to—" David hung up. For the first time in his adult life, David had hung up on someone who needed help. The silence that followed felt different, heavier, like the moment before thunder. That night, David sat in his apartment reviewing his bank statements. The numbers told a story he'd been too blind to see: loans to friends who never repaid them, investments in other people's dreams, payments for other people's emergencies. Over the past 5 years, he'd given away nearly $200,000. He had nothing to show for it except a reputation for being helpful. Friday morning arrived gray and ordinary, but David felt different. The phone calls came as usual. Michael needed help with client emails. Rachel wanted advice about her new boyfriend. His brother asked for another loan. David let them all go to voicemail. Something had broken inside him Thursday night. Not his heart that would heal, something deeper. The mechanism that made him automatically say yes to everyone else's needs while ignoring his own. By noon, he had 37 unread messages. At 2 p.m., Michael appeared at his office door. "Dave, what's going on?" "You missed the client check-in this morning." David looked up slowly. "That was your client check-in." "Yeah, but you always handle the follow-ups." "Did you ask me to handle it?" Michael's eyebrows rose. "I didn't think I needed to ask. You always do." For the first time, David saw it clearly. Michael didn't see him as a partner. He saw him as an assistant who worked for free. "I won't be handling your follow-ups anymore." "What do you mean?" "I mean handle your own clients." Michael stood in the doorway for a long moment, confused. In 3 years, David had never refused a request. He didn't know it yet, but their partnership was over. That evening, David did something he hadn't done in years. He turned off his phone and sat in silence. No emergencies to handle, no crises to solve. No one else's problems to carry. The quiet felt strange at first, then peaceful, then powerful. Saturday brought a different kind of test. His brother Marcus called from the landline, bypassing David's silent phone. "David, I know you're screening calls, but this is important. Sarah and I are getting evicted next week. We need $8,000. David had given Marcus money 12 times in the past 3 years, for rent, for car payments, for medical bills, for emergencies that somehow kept happening. "I'm not giving you money anymore." Silence. Then, "What?" "David will be homeless. You've been facing eviction 6 times since 2021. I've saved you 6 times. Now you're facing it again. This is different. This time you'll have to solve it yourself. I can't believe you're being so selfish." Selfish. The word hit like a slap. David had been called many things: generous, reliable, helpful. Never selfish. "Maybe," David said quietly, "I need to be more selfish." After hanging up, David realized something important. His brother hadn't asked how he was doing. Hadn't asked about his business, his health, his life. The call had lasted 4 minutes, and every second was about Marcus's problems. When was the last time someone had asked how David was doing? He couldn't remember. Sunday passed in stillness, no calls, no texts, no emergencies. Monday brought the real test. Michael scheduled a meeting for 10 a.m. When David arrived at their shared office, he found Michael sitting with someone else, a woman in an expensive suit. "David, this is Jennifer Chun, our new business consultant." Jennifer smiled professionally. "Michael's been explaining how the partnership works. He handles client relations and strategy. You handle operations and implementation." David listened carefully. According to Michael's version, David was the junior partner who executed Michael's vision. "That's interesting," David said, "because I've been reviewing our contracts. According to our partnership agreement, we're equal partners. And according to our client records, I've generated 68% of our revenue." Jennifer's expression shifted slightly. She'd been told a different story. David pulled out a folder. "I've prepared a detailed breakdown of client origination, account management, and revenue attribution. Would you like to see it?" The meeting lasted 2 hours. By the end, Jennifer understood the real structure of their business. Michael handled sales calls. David did everything else. "This is quite different from what I was told," Jennifer said finally. After she left, Michael turned to David. "What was that about?" "That was about truth. We're partners, David. We're supposed to work together. Equal partners. Which means equal respect, equal decision-making, and equal credit." Michael's face darkened. "You're acting different." "I don't like it. I'm acting like someone who knows his worth." That afternoon, David received a call from an unknown number. "Mr. David, this is Amanda Liu from Brightstone Holdings. I understand you handle the Henderson account." "I do. We'd like to discuss bringing our business directly to you." "We've heard excellent things about your work." David smiled for the first time in weeks. "I'd be happy to discuss that." The offer from Brightstone was substantial. Enough to start his own firm? Enough to leave Michael behind? Enough to choose his own clients instead of cleaning up other people's messes. That evening, David called Daniel. His former best friend answered on the first ring. "David, I've been hoping you'd call. I have a new opportunity that could help me pay you back." "Daniel? Yeah?" "Stop talking." Silence. "I'm not calling about money. I'm calling to tell you something important." "What?" "We're not friends anymore. David, come on, I made a mistake, but you stole from me. For 6 months, you looked me in the eye and lied about where my money was. It wasn't like that. I had a problem, and your problems are not my responsibility anymore." David hung up and blocked Daniel's number. 3 days later, Michael called an emergency meeting. "David, we need to talk about your attitude. You're being difficult. I'm being professional. You used to be more flexible." "I used to be a pushover." Michael's jaw tightened. "I think we should consider dissolving the partnership." David had been expecting this. "I agree." "What?" "I agree. Let's dissolve the partnership." Michael had expected David to panic, to negotiate, to bend. Instead, David pulled out another folder. I've had our partnership agreement reviewed by an attorney. Given the revenue attribution and client origination records, I'm entitled to 70% of our current assets and client relationships. Michael's face went pale. That's not possible. It's documented. Every email, every contract, every client interaction. I kept records of everything. For 3 years, David's compulsive organization had seemed like an annoying quirk. Now it was his weapon. The dissolution took 6 weeks. When it was over, David walked out with 8 of their 10 major clients and enough capital to start his own consulting firm. Michael kept the office lease and 2 clients who barely covered his rent. 6 months later, David sat in his new office, a corner space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. His assistant knocked softly. "Mr. David." "Rachel Martinez is here. She says she's a friend." David looked up from his computer. Rachel stood in the doorway, nervous. "David, hi. I heard about your new business. Congratulations." "Thank you. I was wondering. I know I still owe you money, but I'm in a really tough spot and no," Rachel blinked. "What?" "No, I won't be lending you money, but it's just temporary. I have a new job starting and, Rachel, you've asked me for money 14 times in 4 years. You've repaid $400 out of 17,000. I know, but you didn't come here to pay me back. You came here to ask for more." Rachel's face flushed. "I thought we were friends. Friends don't treat each other as banks." After Rachel left, David returned to his work. Real work, strategic consulting that challenged him. Clients who respected his expertise. Projects that advanced his career instead of draining his energy. At 6 p.m., David's assistant knocked again. "Your brother is online too?" David looked at the phone for a long moment. Marcus had called 6 times since the eviction conversation. David had answered none of them. "Tell him I'm unavailable. Should I take a message?" No. That evening, David sat in his apartment, a new apartment in a better neighborhood, paid for with money he'd earned instead of money he'd saved by sacrificing for others. His phone was silent. Not because no one needed anything, but because people had learned he wouldn't automatically provide it. The silence no longer felt empty, it felt earned. A year later, David received an email from Daniel. "David, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I've been going to therapy for my gambling addiction. I also wanted to apologize for what I did. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted to try making amends. I've saved $3,000 to start paying you back. No strings attached." David read the email twice. $3,000 wouldn't cover the $50,000 Daniel had stolen, but it was something Daniel had never offered before, accountability without excuses. David replied, "Send the check to my business address. If you're serious about making amends, prove it with actions, not words." 2 weeks later, a check arrived. David deposited it without calling Daniel. Trust, he had learned, wasn't something you gave freely. It was something you earned slowly. His new clients understood this. They earned his expertise through respect, clear communication, and fair compensation. In return, they received work that exceeded their expectations. David's reputation had changed. He was no longer known as the helpful guy who would handle anyone's emergency. He was known as the strategic consultant who delivered exceptional results for clients who valued his time. The difference was profound. Standing in his office one evening, David watched the city lights flicker to life below. The view from the 15th floor showed the vast network of buildings, each filled with people making choices about trust, boundaries, and self-worth. Somewhere in those countless windows, other people were probably saying yes to requests they should refuse. Lending money they couldn't afford to lose. Trusting people who hadn't earned it. He had been that person for 31 years of his life. Now he was someone else entirely. Someone who understood that trust without boundaries wasn't kindness, it was a slow form of self-destruction. His phone buzzed against the mahogany desk. A text from an unknown number. "Mr. David, this is Jennifer Chun. I wanted you to know that Michael's business failed last month. He's asking if you might consider hiring him." David read the message and smiled. Michael, who had called him difficult for expecting equal treatment, was now asking for help from the partner he'd tried to diminish. David deleted the message without responding to Michael's desperate request. Some bridges, once burned completely, should remain nothing but ashes. He had learned the most important and valuable lesson of his adult life. You can't save everyone, and trying to do so will systematically destroy you, but learning to save yourself, that changes everything. Trust, carefully given, had become his greatest strength, power.